So back here in the engine compartment, I have the starter battery installed, strapped down, hooked up. Battery switch is off, but I have turned it on. Now nothing's turned on to it, so yeah, no excitement went on there. And then this is the breaker for the shifter throttle shift mechanism. So what I'm going to do now is get into the programming and calibrating of that system. I'm going to turn on the battery switch and this breaker, reset it, but not until I open up the installation manual and read what the proper procedure is on that. And then once I get it, activated. So here's the throttle cable and the throttle linkage, and I'm going to try to set all this up without it connected, because I'm afraid if it's connected and it tries to push it to here and it can only go to here, something will break or strain or whatever. So I'm going to try to, and the same on the shifter linkage, the cable's down to the outdrive, but it's not connected to the shifter. So I'm going to get into doing the calibrating on all that and see how it goes. Well, I got the shifter and throttle system all programmed and it seems to work awesome, but it wasn't without some frustration and well, one call to their tech support, and he didn't really give me a solution, but I guess it was nice to know he was there if I actually had something he could have helped me with. But I sorted it out, so let me kind of explain what it was all about. I almost feel like it would be worth doing a video on how to set up one of these systems. I don't know how popular it is. Maybe that's the reason I had very little luck finding much on YouTube or just on the internet in general talking about what to do. It's they actually, UltraFlex, the company that makes it, has a few videos kind of showing you overview of how the system works, but nothing to really go step by step through. And I suppose, like a lot of things in life, everyone's experience will be different. But for me, I started trying to set this up yesterday afternoon, and I was getting nowhere. I was like, I don't know what's wrong. I've been very careful doing all the cable routing and everything, like they warn you to keep the CAN bus cable away from power cables and stuff like that. So I've got them up right up under the walk around while everything else is way down here. They're unavoidable that they have to kind of intermingle a bit at the units. They plug in, 3/4 of an inch apart each other, but at least they're not run that way. So as far as the setup process goes, in here you pop this little cover off, and then there's a couple little dip switches down in there that are both turned off, and you turn one of them on and that puts it in setup mode, so you can change parameters, how far the shifter and throttle move, and various things. And it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. It was all the lights up on the control on the dash. When you are in that mode, there's a whole mess of LEDs, and they're all still supposed to be on, but that isn't what was happening. What was happening is actually the way it is right now. So now it's powered up, it's in sleep mode, and then if I wanted to drive the boat, you turn the key on or start the engine or whatever, and when you do it, this is what happens. There's a green light flashing and a beeper going, and then to get that to stop, you just press control to activate this control. Up on the flybridge, that one would also be flashing and beeping, and if you pressed that one instead of this one, it would be activated. Now in setup mode, that's what was happening to me. Just what we had right here, except pressing control didn't do anything because it was in setup mode. It just was flashing. And that's when I called tech support, and he basically said try pressing and holding it. And at that point I had kind of rearranged some wires just to try a few things out, so I couldn't do that right then on the phone, so I said thank you, I'll give that a try. pressed and held it, nothing happened. And at the end of the day, I think all I can come up with is that maybe I bought this system over a year ago. It's sat in the box in my garage for a year. I considered, should I put it inside? And I thought, well, the boat's going to sit outside the rest of its life, so I left it out there. So I don't know whether contacts were just a little, not dirty, I don't know what, just not making contact. Because not only, so I wonder, so I ended up, I put everything back together, and through various attempts to try things, I flipped those. So there's two little switches in there, and I flipped them back and forth a few times. Well, then one of the times I powered up the system, and oh, okay, now the lights are working the way they're supposed to up there, and I can go in here. So I'm not going to go into setup mode. Like I say, that'd be a whole separate video. But once, if you're in setup mode, you have the arrows and select and all that, and I could do all that. So wasn't working before. I never, in the end, much as I tried moving a few wires around, it's supposed to not matter which order you connect all these together. You just go daisy chain one to another. But I tried going in a different order just to see if it cared. But at the end of the day, I was able to set it all up. So you adjust the distance everything travels, so your neutrals where the shifters, you know, the linkage on the outdrive is in neutral, and forward and reverse. You get it all set up, the throttle, so at idle, the engine's at idle, at full throttle, the throttle's pinned wide open. And then it's in the mode it's in now, and it works perfect. So let me show you kind of how this system works once it's all up and going. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I have the tripod set up here. I'm going to go up to the helm, I'm going to turn the key on, it'll start beeping, I'll activate this control, and then I'll put it through the shifting and the throttle, and you'll see this is the shifter actuator, and this is the throttle one, and you'll see them move around as I go through the motions. And yeah, like I say, it works great right at the engine and whatever, it's all good. So I'll go up here and fire things up, except I won't actually start the engine. So there, I've activated the control, and so now if I was to go into reverse, I would just click it into reverse and back to neutral, forward, and it's quite, you know, as instantaneous as it can be. So there's a dead idle and forward, and then as I move the throttle forward, there's full throttle. And back to dead idle, neutral, reverse, and then throttle and reverse. And yeah, so that's the way it works. So I've got the camera in the engine compartment now. This is the throttle linkage right here. And I'm gonna fire it back up again. You'll hear the fuel pump for the engine turn on when I turn the key on. And then I'll put it in forward, and then give it some gas. So there's the alright, I heard the fuel pump shut off. So yeah, so it's in neutral, and then I'll click it into forward, which you obviously won't see anything there, and then the throttle, and advancing the throttle. And there we are at full throttle, and I assume it's at full throttle. And yes, it is. There's no room left there. It's right tight against the stop, and that's the way it should be. So yeah, and the shifter, it's all buttoned up now. I can't show that anymore, but there you go. So yeah, I'm very happy with it. It seems like a wonderful system.